Okay, last thing we're going to work on when simplifying radicals is we're going to simplify fractions when they involve the radicals. Where you're going to see a lot of this is whenever we get to using the quadratic formula. If you remember the quadratic formula from Algebra 1, you should recognize this general form with the radical, leading coefficients, everything else, the fraction on bottom. What we're going to do is we're going to simplify this as far as possible. First thing we need to check is that whatever's inside the radical can't be simplified anymore. We can't simplify this radical like we've been doing it previously. 3 falls in there, nothing to divide it for before we make it smaller. So square root of 3 is, of course, as low as it can go. What I want to do is I'm going to break these up into 2 different fractions. We're going to have 2 over 10 plus 6 to square root of 3 over 10. The reason we're doing that is because 2 over 10 can be reduced by, they both have a 2 in common, so that would be 1/5. 6 over 10, and if you don't really see the common factors here, you can do this in a calculator. We're just looking at the numeric part outside of the radical. We're going to do alpha y equals in the calculator, and we can put in a fraction, 6 over 10, and if we press enter, it will simplify it for us. That's what we want, as simple as possible. 3 over 5, and that would be square root of 3. That square root of 3 can technically be on top, or it can just be multiplied. I think you will see it more often than not that it stays on top like that. Because they're the same, this again could still be written as 1 plus the square root of 3, 3 the square root of 3 over 5. So either of these are correct. Let's look at another example. Both of these are divisible by 7. Let's actually break it up twice. So I can do 28 over 7 minus 7 the square root of 3 over 7. 28 divided by 7 is 4 minus, and then 7 divided by 7 is 1, which leaves me just square root of 3. Another way we could have done this, if I do individually like this, 28 divided by 7 would have been 4. When I do this over here, this part, 7 divided by 7 will just leave me the square root of 3. It's a little quicker, but it leaves us a little bit more room to make mistakes. Let's try the next one. On this one, we're going to look at them. What do we see with the 3 and the 6? Let's go ahead. We see that there's some we can simplify here a little bit. Let's go ahead and split in our 2 fractions. We have negative 3 over 6. 6 plus 12 the square root of 6 over 6. These are going to be 2 different fractions. We're actually going to end up with 2 different denominators, I think. Negative 3 divided by 6, I can put that in the calculator. I can just see that it's negative 1 over 2. And 12 over 6. 12 divided by 6 is 6. And I still have the square root of 6. That whole denominator disappears completely. That's what I'm actually going to be looking for here. Again, all these are the same. We're just trying to simplify it as much as possible. Next one. Let's go ahead and split it up into 2. Negative 2 over 12 plus 7 over 12. 7 square root of 2 over 12. Negative 2 over 12. That's going to be negative 1/6. Again, feel free to plug each fraction in the calculator. If I plug 7 over 12 in the calculator, it will still give me 7 over 12 but I still can't forget that square root of 2. So the only thing that happened here is this side was simplified a little bit, but it can affect that top quite a bit. Alright, here's the last one. The last one is probably by far the most complicated of them all. We have a radical with a fraction with a radical in it, and we have 75. The square root of 75. So that's a pretty big number. More than likely I can simplify this radical. I went ahead and made me a little chart here so we could see it. 75 falls somewhere in there. I'm going to start dividing, get my calculator out, and I'm going to do 75 divided by, and I'm going to start about halfway. Halfway would be, let's just call it 36, divided by 36. No, that doesn't work. 75 divided by the next one, which is 25. Enter. 3. So I'm going to take that 25. I'm going to have the square root of 75, and it's going to be the square root of 25 times the square root of 3. That's what I got in the calculator. 3 times 25 is 75. That's what I end up with here. 3 times 25 is 75. Square root of that 25 is going to be 5. 5 the square root of 3. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this as it is. Well, I'm sorry. I can go ahead and just split that into 2. So negative 40 over 20 minus 4. And I'm going to go ahead and include this in parentheses because we're going to need to do a little bit more work. I have two numbers here. I need to make it look more like the rest of these. So let's go ahead and rewrite it one more time. Negative 40 over 20, and then minus 4 times 5. 4 times 5 is 20, and I leave the square root of 3 just like it is. And I have my 20 on the bottom. Let's simplify it out and see what happens. Negative 40 divided by 20 is negative 2. Minus 20 divided by 20 turns to 1, so I have the square root of 3. All of this simplifies to negative 2 minus the square root of 3.